What's up, everybody, and welcome. My name is Dr. Joe. I'm a licensed physical therapist, and I specialize working with tennis athletes. And today I'm going to bring you a video when we talk about upper back pain in the tennis athlete. Sometimes people call it shoulder blade pain. You'll find this pain in roughly the same area. You're going to go to that inside border of your shoulder blade, and then right in the middle of your back on your thoracic spine, which is the official name for the vertebrae in your upper back, and it's going to be somewhere between there. It might be closer to the shoulder blade. It might be closer to the spine. It doesn't necessarily matter. As long as it's in that zone, we're almost always dealing with the same type of issue. And because this issue is one I treat more commonly than anything else in my tennis athletes, I have a really good grasp of what's going on and how to treat it. Before we jump into the exercises and what you should do for it, first I want to talk about what's happening, because I think understanding is a very important foundation to addressing an injury and making sure it never comes back. The first step in understanding this injury is to know when the forces during the tennis swing, whether it's a ground stroke or a serve, happen in this area. Because force is what creates that tissue breakdown if we're not strong enough to withstand it. So there's two main times we have force in this area. The first one, which I would define as a moderate amount of force, is during the concentric contraction, when the muscle is shortening. So if we just look at a simple example, if I flex my elbow, my bicep is undergoing a concentric contraction because it's flexing. An eccentric contraction is when I hold the weight and I lower it down and my bicep is undergoing force, typically higher than the concentric contraction. So for the tennis swing, as you wind up, as you bring the racket back, again, whether it's on the ground stroke or whether it's on a serve, that's a concentric contraction. So you might have some pain and discomfort here in the upper back area. What I would say is a little bit more common due to the higher forces on the area is pain with an eccentric contraction, which is at either right at contact or the follow through, because the force jumps through the roof when you contact the ball, because now you've added an object to it, and then when you're trying to decelerate the racket. In fact, in sports, tennis being no exception, is most injuries happen when we're trying to slow down and dissipate force as opposed to when we create it. Think of a knee injury happening when we land from a jump, not as we take off. It's just a little bit more typical. So if you have pain during any of these portions of the tennis swing, again, ground stroke or serve, then some of these exercises I'm about to review should work very well for you, because we're going to strengthen that area and build up the tolerance and get you back on the court as quickly as possible. The first two exercises on our agenda have a massive advantage because they don't require a single piece of equipment. I've done this with athletes of all levels, high school, college, and above, and they've still been able to achieve levels of stress adequate to strengthen with no equipment at all. And the first one we're going to do is called a prone up and over. So we're going to make our way down to our stomachs. Once we drop down, you're going to bring your arms out to the side. To initiate the movement, you have to squeeze your shoulder blades together, like you're trying to get them to kiss each other. And then once they're together, you'll bring them up, set your hands down, squeeze again, and lift and bring them to this lower position. It's almost as if we're going up and over some type of object. If you want, you could place a shoe, a book, or something actually to go over to give you some feedback to whether you're getting your arms high enough. Again, the shoulder blade squeeze is the key aspect here, because that's going to allow us to strengthen the area that we have weakness in and therefore pain. The next movement is going to be called a prone external rotation reach. It's a very similar setup, but this time we're going to take our elbow at a 90-degree angle, drop our hands down. We're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together, reach overhead, maintaining that squeeze, and bring them back down. And you're going to repeat this reaching motion while you maintain the shoulder blade squeeze. Now, the next question is naturally, how many repetitions do we do? And I'm not going to give you a number. If I give you a number, it could be too hard, it could be too easy. What I'm going to tell you instead is that the body is smart. You need an appropriate amount of stress to trigger the avalanche of things that happens to strengthen an area. The only way to know you're getting enough stress is to monitor for a muscle burn. So complete each of these exercises until you get a burn in that upper back area, which tells you you're hitting a sufficient stress level to strengthen. The other benefit is you can start doing these today, and then when you get to next week, you might be doing 4, 5, 6 more repetitions than when you first started, which is showing you that you're getting stronger and improving the amount of stress that area can withstand, which is the whole point of these two exercises. The next exercise we're going to do is called a band pull apart. So obviously from the name, you're going to require a band. I always suggest having multiple resistance levels so that when you get stronger, you can progress to the next level up. So with these longer bands, you can either double over 2 or you can start with 1 strand. I suggest starting lighter because we're going to have a different focus here back to why the injury is occurring, that eccentric focus that you hopefully remember from the beginning of the video. So to do this, we're going to position our arms straight out front of us. We're going to start with tension already in the band. Elbows staying straight, we're going to pull the band apart until our arms get out to the side. Then we're going to do a 5-second eccentric. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull apart again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we're training those muscles for that specific type of contraction that produces the highest amount of force in our upper back and our scapular muscles so that it can handle it when we're back on the tennis court. I would say start with about 10 to 15 repetitions, progress them up to maybe 20. Once you get to 20, that's when you probably want to go and get your next resistance level. If you're looking for recommendations on bands, I'll put the link in the description of this video. That goes to this brand. They've worked great. Obviously, they haven't broken. I've been using them for a little over a year now. In addition to training the strength of the area, we also want to train the mobility. Because if our mobility is better and we can move easier, then we naturally have more amount of motion to dissipate that force over. So our tissue doesn't have to be ready to get rid of that motion in this amount of room. We increase our mobility, and now we can do it with this amount of room. So to do that, we're going to start with an exercise I call thread the needle. You're going to start on your knees. You're going to rock back so that your butt is sitting back toward your heels. You don't have to have your butt all the way on your heels, just back in that direction. It's going to lock out our lumbar spine to get the focus to our upper back and thoracic spine. We're then going to take a hand, put it on the ground. The other hand is going to reach through, sliding along the ground, trying to aim the chest as far toward that wall as possible. And then we'll open back the other direction and aim our chest toward the other wall. Reach through, open up. And we can repeat that about 10 repetitions each side, making sure you're pushing far enough to feel a little bit of stretch. And we're going to follow that with another exercise, working on the thoracic mobility backwards, which is great for the serve, whereas this one is focused more on rotation, which happens during the serve too, but also in the ground strokes. So let's take a look at our next one, which is the thoracic extension wall slide. This exercise is a nice simple one that can be done pretty much anywhere as long as you have a wall. The first thing we're going to do is clasp our fingers together, place them behind the neck, step toward a wall. I like one foot in front of the other. Elbows touch the wall. Slide the elbows up. Press the chest toward the wall and back down. Slide the elbows up, pressing the chest to the wall and come back down. And you'll see what happens there is we're creating that extension through the thoracic spine, making sure we have enough mobility, which you typically see in trophy position when that thoracic spine extends. We want to make sure we can dissipate that force through as many segments as possible. All of these exercises are going to be an absolutely fantastic start. I have many clients who this is all I've had to show them, and they were able to get rid of their pain. If you're a higher level tennis player and you produce a massive amount of force because you hit the ball so hard, you serve so fast, then it's important to build an exercise plan to support your body for those forces. It should be filled with a lot of pulling movements, your rows, your lat pull downs, and different motions like that because of the strength that builds in the upper back. And as long as you do that over months and over years, you're going to really become resistant to injuries that keep you off the tennis court. If you're confused by everything I just said there, leave a comment below this video. I'm happy to walk through in a video some of my favorite exercises for building upper back strength that you can do at your local gyms. Of course, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave those too. Hope you learned a ton. Please like and subscribe to check out some future videos, and feel free to submit questions to me so I can cover other topics. Thanks, have a great day, and keep yourself on the tennis court playing, having fun, enjoying life.